You've got the power. You've got the power. Power is defined as the ability to do something or act in a particular way. Another definition is the capacity to direct or influence. Yet another definition is the right or authority that's given or delegated to a person or body, right? So, other definitions include, energy, physical strength, etc. Now, there are many definitions of power, but from the above definitions, you can see that everybody has some degree of power, right? Everybody, okay? We have the power to choose in ways that maybe we haven't thought of before, but everybody has a level of power. Now, what has that got to do with balance? What's that got to do with harmony? Well, sometimes we live our lives as though we have no power at all. No power over our circumstances, no power over anything, and hey, we're just going to drift around. And even though we don't say that to ourselves, it's just the way sometimes we live our lives. But the truth is that even if you're not a president, ruler, king, queen, you have a lot more power than you realize. Hello, you've got the power. Now, I dare say that honestly, without realizing how much personal power we have in our own lives, we may not be able to influence others in the ways that we want. Now, as a fully grown adult, exactly what power do you have? Number one, you have power over your time, okay? You decide what you do with your time, where you go, who you spend the time with, what you do, okay? You can't control time, but you can control how you spend your 24 hours that you're given. No one influences that but you see? And a lot of times, we've unconsciously taken on this, I would say, thought that we don't have power, especially when we say, well, I have to do this, I have to do that. What about changing that have to I get to, or I choose to? Because at the end of the day, these are all choices that we're making, and nobody has more power over your time than you. So sit down, take stock, decide where your time is going, and be purposeful about your time, because now you know that you have power over your time. Hello. You have power over what you put in your mind. Now, there's a saying that goes, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Another saying goes, you can't prevent birds from flying over your head, but you can prevent them from nesting in your hair. And it's the same thing with what goes in your mind. Thoughts will come and go, but what do you choose to dwell on, right? What are you putting in your mind, okay? Is the news depressing? Turn it off. You don't have to watch the news. I don't know why so many people feel they have to watch the news. I don't watch the news, but I'm pretty savvy about a lot of goings on. So, hey, I clearly am making it work. If the news is depressing you or making you mad or, and putting you in an emotional state that you don't like, turn it off, because you have the power. If you have multiple naysayers in your life pulling you down, tune them out, because you have the power, okay? Instead, because they say nature abhors a vacuum, instead, fill your mind with things that uplift you. Books, music, podcasts like this podcast, messages, the people around you, Fill your mind with things that uplift you. Fill your mind with things that put you in a better emotional state, okay? You have the power, use it. Number 4, you have power over your feelings. Oh, how do I feel? Now, disclaimer, this is not addressing people who have clinical depression, which is a diagnosis, and people who have that usually need therapy and medicine, okay? Yes, I'm a doctor, yes. I'm not talking to those people, okay? I'm talking about people like you and I, average Joe, who don't have the clinical depression diagnosis, right? But we are able, we become so well versed at letting one incident dictate our mood for the whole week, the whole month, or even the whole year, okay? Or one negative emotion causing a setback, okay? Now, feelings come and go, but you don't have to remain in an emotional state that you don't like, And there are things, obviously, things hit us hard, right? For example, if you're grieving, then grieve. I'm not going to tell you that, oh, your dad died yesterday, so tomorrow you should be dancing a jig. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Again, right? they're extremes, right? But, somebody cut you off in traffic. Now you go to work and you're yelling at your employees. Why? You fought with your husband. Now you're, whooping the kids and yelling at them and all that, right? And then your kid goes and kicks the cat. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. That kind of spiral, that kind of negative emotion that we just allow to keep, we just keep feeding and feeding and feeding on them. No, you don't have to do that, because you have the power. But if you don't realize that you have the power over these emotions and the power to change your emotional state, then you will not take up the mantle and take up the challenge to decide what your feelings are going to be per time. So turn it around. You have the power over your feelings. You have the power, number 5, over who you allow into your life. Yes, you do. As Tony Gaskin said, you are the CEO of your life. You demote, you promote, you hire, you fire accordingly. Okay? So you decide who comes and goes. You decide who gets to spend time with you. You decide who's in your life. You decide. You have the power. Okay? Your life is not a dumping ground for naysayers and Debbie Downers and people who don't want you to succeed. No. You get to decide. And, the fact that you've been in a relationship with someone for a long time, sometimes people outgrow relationships, and it's okay, And when I say relationships, I'm not talking about marriage. That's a different kettle of fish, okay? I'm talking about just, relationship. You've been a friend with somebody for a long time. The fact that you've been with a friend with somebody for 20 years doesn't mean that they're going to be in your life for the next 20 years, and it's okay, People grow at different rates. Some people don't even grow at all, So, some relationships are with us for a season, some for a reason, and sometimes the seasons come to an end, okay? So, to recap, what you have power over? You have power over your time. You have power over what you put in your mouth. You have power over what you put in your mind. You have power over your feelings, and you have power over who you allow to remain in your life. So, remember this. You have got the power.